Okay, everybody. Petition delegations, none. Adoption of minutes. Thank you. Second, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. We've got a fairly large agenda, so I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. Business arising. None. Public considerations, none. Notice of motions, none. Chairs reports, none. Consent calendar, none. Number one, Director Sinnott.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission held May 27th, 2026 be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice, number two.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make the motion that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Electoral Area D Advisory Planning Commission held on June 3rd, 2026 be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Walling, number three.
Electoral Area Services Committee, I move the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Electoral Area Service Committee held on June 10, 2026 be received.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Director Jack, number four.
You're muted.
I don't see it on my.
Okay, not a problem. We'll get Director Sinnott to grab it.
I can
Or Moen.
move that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the First Nations Relations Committee held on June 10th, 2026 be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lanyon, staff reports, number one, please.
Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, Mike can speak to this quickly for the board.
Thanks. Yeah, we're just looking to do a bit of housekeeping. We have an old bylaw in place that hasn't been amended in some time that governs the signing authority for checks. So we're just looking to increase the amount for the smaller checks that require single signature, and as well as change up the signing authorities. We've been doing some work with our bank recently, and all our records are getting kind of fuzzy because every time there's a change in the chair or the vice chair, we have to fax over different signatures, and they do some photocopying on their end. So we're time to update our accounts, and we've typically never had the chair or vice chair signing checks. So we're just looking to switch that over to the corporate officer instead.
Any questions? Director Sinnott?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. So my question is, when I see that we're doing electronic fund transfers, I know that there's certain processes like the Law Society has to make sure that only certain people can do it. Is that also controlled by the two signature rules and things?
Yeah, we have two approvers. So for all the electronic funds transfers, we have security certificates. So only certain people here can do it. So it's primarily controlled by ourselves. But yeah, it still requires two people to sign off here, even the smaller checks. So it would the check signing still corresponds to the electronic funds transfer as well.
And I guess a follow-up would be, I know we're responsible to ensure that there's a reasonable amount of asset protection in place. And does this seem to be reasonable compared to with like local governments?
Yeah, as far as I know, we follow the procedures, similar to the Comox Valley would do, or any other local government. Yeah.
Any additional questions? Director Lott?
Just an observation. Why would we be removing the checks and balances that we incorporated in this process to ensure that elected official is just authorizing this before we sign off and make our disbursements? It seems to me like if you want to maintain the public trust and you want to maintain transparency, you have those checks and balances in places. What I'm seeing is you're removing the politicians from the process, you weaken that process. Could you care to comment on
Yeah, the board still has the same authority it always has. All spending has to be done in the financial plan. This bylaw strictly stated that the chair or the vice chair were allowed to sign off on individual checks or individual bank transfers, which doesn't happen. But like I say, every time there's turnover, we have to follow up those records with the bank. So there's a bunch of administrative work that happens, but no, all spending is still controlled by the financial plan bylaw, which is approved by the board. And then the other limits of the thresholds would apply. We have the other bylaw in place that governs that, boards see all the contracts above 250,000. So all of that is still in place, but staff can't spend without it first being in the financial plan bylaw, which is voted by the board.
Dr. Sinnott?
Yeah, so I think the only consideration we'd have is I know that the materiality for the audit is at a very high level, and this isn't hit any type of materiality. It would be when we do the audit engagement, whether we want to do like a sample of 5 or 10 transactions, just to see if there's any, in a incorrect application of the policy. But it seems to be, we've already set the materiality at audit at such a high level that this is almost on the immaterial side.
Yeah, our audit materialities 1.5 million or above. This would change essentially $9,000 to allow a single sign off for any type of payment between 1,000, 9,000. And if you think about it too, I mean, a lot of our staff have purchase cards, right? So they could take out and swipe the card for $3,000, not single signatures. But again, it would get followed up because we have checks and balances after that too, for all the senior managers to approve payment.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I'll move that an amendment bylaw be prepared for the board's consideration, incorporating the amendments described in the June 12th, 2026 report from the CAO.
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Chapman, number 2.
BC Hydro Regreening Grant Award. I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion?
Maybe Mr. Koopman can speak to these. He's got a couple, and just briefly remind the board what these grants were for.
Through the chair, this grant award is for the Strathcona Regional District to support the revegetation of the wetland of the Quadra Island Elementary School. School District 72 was unable to apply for this grant themselves, so this is us supporting them.
Director Mulvaney?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to extend my gratitude to Mr. Koopman for his efforts on this, and I really appreciate the consideration of Quadra Island and the elementary school wetland project. And I'm really happy that we're collaborating with School District 72 on this. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I move that the 2026-2030 financial plan be amended to incorporate the $10,000 revenue from the 2026 BC Hydro Regreening Grant to fund the activities identified in the May 22nd, 2026 report from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Director Von Esch, number 3.
Adaptation in Action Grant Award. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Discussion?
Sean can speak to this as well.
Yeah, through the chair to the board, your blessing is required to incorporate this funding received into the financial plan based on your previous resolution that we applied for this grant, really building on the progressive work that the Friends of Cortes Island and Klahoose First Nation have been doing with climate change adaptation projects in the area to support a very high level and educational project on Cortes Island shorelines, primarily focused on the south and where population are. So south of I'd say Carrington Cove to about Klahoose.
Okay, discussion? Director Von Esch?
Just want to thank Mr. Koopman and SRD staff for helping move this forward, and exciting to see this come into place. Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B,
I'll move that the 2026 to 2030 financial plan be amended to incorporate $63,000 from the 2026 Adaptation and Action Grant to fund the activities identified in the May 26, 2026 report from the CAO.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rowini, number 4.
Thank you, Chair. Options for accepting donations. Move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Mr. Chair, Mike can speak to this.
Yes, we took the request. We had to look around at some other regional districts. Many actually didn't seem to have a policy on donations. A lot of them had them on just park donations, but as far as corporate donations in general, we didn't see a lot. But we did found a couple samples that could be employed that just covers the governance of donations. They're all quite straightforward, as you can imagine. Smaller donations under a certain threshold could be just administered by staff, and anything greater than that would generally go to the board. So if the SRD was to look to implement a policy, I would assume we'd follow that. And I guess the other question is, we already have a policy for donations for parks, whether it be more administratively easy for the board to have just one policy, so we could amend the parks one, or if you wanted to start a different one for donations in kind.
For the Director Rowini.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the report. And as some of you may recall, this motion originated at the Electoral Area Services Committee table with a motion that I put forward. And the reason for it was that on Quadra Island, the Quadra Recreation Society, along with the SRD Parks Department, are engaged in discussions about construction of an outdoor pavilion to meet a variety of community needs, and which is already in our financial plan. And the outcome that I'm really hoping for from this policy would provide like a formal avenue for seeking potential donations, such as posts and beams from local woodlot owners, just as an example, or other building materials or excavating work. And at the Cowichan Valley Regional District, I believe they have a process of posting a request for expressions of interest, which I felt could be beneficial for this type of project, the pavilion project, and perhaps other capital projects in the electoral areas in the future. And I think it would quantify potential donations in a neutral way, and maybe it would make staff happy. So ideally for me, the expressions of interest could even come before there was a full design plan, so that the design could incorporate the materials that were available. I don't know if that's being too optimistic. I'm just explaining this so that perhaps these ideas could be considered and included in the policy. And I agree that it doesn't need to be complicated. The ultimate goal is really to welcome and invite community-sourced donations for community projects. And I'm just looking to staff to see if they would like direction to include that expressions of interest idea in the policy consideration.
Mr. Chair, I think it's a good idea. I think we can take that as direction to put it in as well. I mean, I personally think there's some other complications that would support having a policy. Often what happens at regional district is folks want to donate in-kind services or equipment, and that is always far more complicated than it seems. It's the intent is excellent, but like, let's say you need a little Bobcat, somebody wants to donate their D8 dozer and think it does the same thing, and then we can't, or they don't have work safe or whatever it be. So I think it's worthy of it. For staff, it would probably be helpful if we can combine the two policies, because they're both, you know, in terms of receiving donations.
Okay, so would you be in favor of, I will make an amendment to the
Yes.
motion that's there then.
Okay, on receipt, Director Colburn.
And this will also include like corporate donations as well, combining that as well, because I remember when we had, what was it, the donations of the wood from the KCFN. When we did all of those, there was some, you know, maneuvering in order to be able to accept those things. So those will all be combined in one.
Yeah, I mean, receiving any kind of donations,
Perfect.
gifts, I think it makes sense to do our best to incorporate everything in that.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just with respects to the comments on receiving things like lumber, Area D has a building service and we do building inspections. And we cannot take donations of lumber from a lumber mill that hasn't been graded properly. You know, so again, we have to be very careful that what works in one electoral area may not work in another.
Yeah, that's a good example too of just taking free stuff is not as simple as it always seems, right?
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
Thank you, Chair. I will move that a draft policy regarding cash or in-kind donations be prepared for the board's consideration and that it include consideration of expressions of interest.
Second.
discussion. All in favor?
I just have one question. Would this sort of outline for staff that we might want to incorporate all the policies as you were?
I think so, yeah. I think we're going to
Okay.
try and combine it. Makes one-stop shop kind of deal.
And maybe it could even include donations of land for housing?
Donations for anything, yeah, any free stuff.
Great. Thank you.
Director Chapman?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just concerned about including specific wording like expressions of interest because there are other instruments and other processes that we can be involved in this other than that. So I want to broaden that scope out.
Yeah,
instead of being
thanks.
limited.
I'll take some liberty with that for sure, but I understand the intent of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Director
if you were to
Colburn?
put a word in there like expressions of interest, then that would,
I'm good, yeah, no.
Okay, Director Mulvaney, number 5.
No, we didn't.
Did we vote?
No.
Oh, darn. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
Would you like me to take number 5? Roundtable discussions at committee meetings. Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
second.
Discussion.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, just maybe before Director Rice is, we've kind of informally done this. One specifically at Municipal Services, we have had a history of having a roundtable, those that have been here for a while. It's, fairly informal. That topic has been raised in terms of maybe doing something similar at other committees, which is fine as well. And it really gets down to whether we want to amend the procedures bylaw to do it, or we have an understanding that it's just been raised under new business. So we have a couple options for the board and happy to support either.
Director Rice?
Thank you, Chair. When this was brought to EASC, I wasn't in favor of it at EASC, and I'll give you my rationale on it. At the EASC table, quite often we have a fair size agenda. We've already modified our start time from 9:30 to 10 to accommodate a ferry, and that director chooses now to remote in, which is fine also. I think that EASC works quite well, that we're discussing electoral area business. I do a director's report every month, so I'm not sure what value I personally have in having a roundtable discussion. There are things that I'm working on in the course of the month that if I can't put it in my director's report, I'm certainly not going to talk about it in a roundtable. So I don't see the value of it myself. I question, why are we bringing in at this point of the time? I mean, if anything, defer it until after the election, or we can vote on it now, but I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
Director Colburn?
Yeah, and I think that I'm not in favor of this at any board meeting. Absolutely not. I don't think that this belongs here at this board meeting. I think committee meetings, absolutely. And I think that there's an allowance for it, but it doesn't have to be acted upon. Is there an opportunity? Does anybody want to do a roundtable, that kind of thing? And that's just speaking from municipal services and First Nations relations. So just keeping those two in mind. So if there was an allowance for that, then I would appreciate it at both of those committees, just because that has kind of been a little bit of a past practice. So it just would be making that into a more common thing and something that maybe people would come having the expectation that if there's something they could provide, they would at that spot.
Director Wally?
I think my take on this is I like a little formality at meetings. I would prefer that there was a motion on the floor before there is a discussion, which isn't always the case, but I think it should be the case. If it's just discussion and no motion intended, then it seems of little value to me to be at a board table or a committee table.
Okay, still on receipt. Director Mulvaney?
Thank you, Chair. My perspective is that there is a difference between new business and an opportunity for a roundtable discussion. I think that a roundtable invites committee members to share tidbits of news or information which may be of interest to committee members, and it builds rapport and connection. And I've really seen that happen at the First Nations Relations Committee. I believe that a roundtable is practiced at the Community Health and Wellness Committee as well, and as the CAO mentioned, the Municipal Services Committee. So I am in favor of option A, though I would suggest that perhaps I completely agree that roundtables should be limited to committees only. And I wonder if by adding it to part 13 of bylaw 44, which governs committee proceedings, would then limit it to being added to the committee agendas versus the board agendas as well. And if so, maybe I would amend the option A.
If I may, Mr. Chair, so probably my fault, the clarity isn't great. I certainly agree with Director Colburn. Our intent was never to introduce it as at the board. That just wouldn't work. So the intent was, and I apologize if I got this wrong, the intent was at either or both the EA committee and First Nations. So apologize if it read like we'd have a round table at this board. No, I wouldn't support that. Not that I vote. No, hey, thank you.
Director Colburn, then Director Davis.
Why would MSC be taken out of that?
Well, it's not taken out of it. I mean, I have put in just that we informally did it, but happy, like if option A is supported, then we will bring back an amendment bylaw that introduces the roundtable at those committees, not the board. So that's how I understand it if you pass option A. Okay.
And as a follow-up, then that would just be a placeholder on an agenda. It wouldn't actually be, and so the process for doing that would be that people would say, I have an item for a roundtable discussion at the beginning, or what would that look like to kind of ease the formality?
Well, I think the chair would probably then, when you got to that item, say, roundtable, and people would say, yeah, I got something, or pass, and that's how it's traditionally worked.
Director Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm in favor of this for those committees because they're fairly simple processes, and often our agendas are fairly thin to start with. I'd be more in favor of option B just because it's less onerous for staff to bring this forward. And that way we can just go with it or not. So yeah, that's my take. Thanks.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Options.
I will make an option move. May I, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I will move option A, and that a roundtable discussion opportunity be incorporated into the board's meeting procedures bylaw for committees.
Second.
Discussion. Director Senate.
That's a very broad word. I thought we were going to limit to 2 committees because I don't want it on the accessibility committee.
So you can either change the motion or just trust me, I'll do it for First Nation, EASC, and MSC.
Director Chapman first.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not in favor of the roundtable at all. The reason is it can be used as a weapon. It can be used to broadside other members of the committee and not giving them an adequate time to prepare or research the issue that's being discussed. So for that reason, I think it can be always raised under new business and then tabled or deferred to another meeting so people can do their research.
Director Colburn.
Well, I was just wondering about other committees that are committees that maybe are not of the board. That's not considered in our procedural bylaw, correct? So for instance, Director Mawhinney said that they use those at the accessibility, excuse me. Yeah, community health and wellness, but that's not an action.
Well, that one's a bad example. It technically isn't a committee of the board because of EHA's issues. So again, we've informally done it at MSC. You can do new business. You can write it into there. Like you can do nothing. So.
Anyone else? Director Lanyon, sorry.
Sure, I'll sort of limp-wristed way speak against this. I don't care, but I don't see what it's trying to solve. And I think that if any director thinks they haven't had enough time to talk at these meetings, then I don't understand. So I'm voting against. Thank you.
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to remind the directors that this recommendation actually was brought to us originally from staff to the First Nations Relations Committee as a way of having more collegial conversations and being able to bring news and information from our communities to share with each other. And so I am still in favor of it. And I think that I think that using it as a form of attack is not, I honestly never even considered that, and seems like we could just do that under business arising. So, you know, roundtable or not, we can have lots of opportunities to talk.
Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just a follow-up to my comments. It's not that I don't believe in roundtable discussions. I think they're appropriate in certain committees. When I look at EASC, I view EASC as a committee where we get together and we discuss electoral area business. Quite often, we do have a lengthy agenda. And I think that if any director wants to bring in new business, there's always that opportunity at the beginning of the meeting. I don't see that we need to formally introduce any amendments to the procedure to have this as a standing line item. And again, I would question, why are we doing it now? You know, if anything, this should have been looked at 3 years ago. So again, I don't think it's appropriate for EASC, but I don't see a problem at some of the other committee meetings that are more informal.
Okay, Director Sinnott, then we'll go to vote.
Yeah, board governance is kind of my thing. And it can really get out of hand quickly if you have these roundtables. And I always call it dessert because everyone wants to chat and they're allowed to do business. And when the meeting's over, we're going to stick around and chat because that's where we're going to do it. It doesn't have to be part of the actual meeting schedule. I do agree, though, that you could have a section on review of the conduct of the meeting as an item, because that's very important to know whether you're adhering to policy and procedure within the conduct yourself. Like, did we do a good job? Did we stay on time? Did we stay on the agenda? And that's good feedback for the chair to see whether they're running the meeting correctly, and for the members who are participating in the meeting if they're should be doing something different. But I think you can get the same result without making it a formal procedure. Just saying, like, you can do it after the meeting if the chair so says so.
Okay, all in favor? Option A. Opposed? I would say it's defeated. Director Lott, number 6.
Thank you, Chair. Number 6, quarterly reports from the BC Ombudsman. Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion?
Again, just a regulatory report we're required to bring forward, Mr. Chair. Looks like in that quarter 4 complaints, none of them were forwarded by the Office for Investigation. Don't ask what the complaints are because we don't know.
On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Sinnott, number 7.
I'll make a motion that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding Sayward Natural Gas Feasibility Study be received.
Second.
Discussion? Director Wally?
Staff report suggests 3 options here, and I'd just like to briefly mention each one of them. Option A is that DSRD retain a consultant to study the cost of extending natural gas to the Sayward. Now, if you've read this report, you'll see that FortisBC says, and I'll quote, developing a preliminary estimate for a project of this scale would require extensive engineering, system planning studies, include route evaluation, upstream system impact analysis, potential compression, that's substation pumping stations, reinforcement requirements. These studies typically take a year or more to complete, represent significant investment. That's the end of the quote. So Fortis basically concludes that given the distance from their system, the relatively small customer base, they're not interested. And as Director Dahl pointed out last time, that when we discussed this thing, that Fortis is going to decide whether they're going to do it or not. And obviously, there's not enough money in it for them to want to do it. And I'll also point out that I don't think the village of Sayward has asked their residents if they want to throw out their heat pumps and whatever, convert to natural gas furnaces and appliances. So nobody really knows what the customer base would be in the village anyway. The valley's not interested. We don't have anything to do with it. And I'd like you to bear in mind that it's not just an enormous cost of this preliminary study that we have to consider there. It's also the actual cost of installing the pipe, which would be many times more than the cost of the study. And it would be an astronomical cost if the thing was ever undertaken. It's just not economically feasible.
Okay, Director Chapman.
One moment,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, quite finished yet. The other thing is that this preliminary study, as it says, would take a year more to complete. By then, be after the election, we'll have a new village council. And the new village council will be focused on other things, I'm sure, not this thing. And then we have option B. This is that the SRD appeal to the BC Utilities Commission regarding for the species unwillingness to conduct their own study. So my feeling on that option is that if the Village of Sayward's current council wants to launch an appeal, that they should initiate that themselves. I'm sure they got someone who can write a letter there. And if they did that, then it might be appropriate for them to ask the Strathcona Regional District if we'd like to support their appeal. But I don't think, seeing as this is just a one jurisdiction request, that it should be done by the SRD. And then lastly, we come to option C. That's the matter of natural gas systems through the Village of Sayward not be pursued at this time. That's the motion that I think is appropriate. And Mr. Chair, after receipt, I'd like to move that motion.
Okay, Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. As Director Wally touched on it correctly, that FortisBC is just simply not interested at all. Not. So with that said, it would be, they've expressed all their concern of the work it was going to take, but we don't know if that's really the extent of the work needed. And I don't see it taking that long. So I would, I don't support this at all. There was another regional district, the Caribou Regional District, who actually undertook the study and created a service to provide natural gas services to electoral area. And it went well. They paid the cost, the capital cost. And after that was done, then the service was just there to maintain the pipes. So it is doable as a local service. And I think it would be up to the next board, the next council to decide what they want to do with this.
Okay. Director Dahl.
I would just add that I think most people have heard that Hydro was considering not renewing the agreement with Capital Power at the power generating station next to the pulp mill. And the main reason for that was because a lot of the LNG for the island is being directed to wood fiber LNG in Squamish. There's a shortage, there's going to be a shortage of natural gas coming to the island. So I would question first whether there would be a supply of natural gas for Sayward, and if Fortis would be interested in extending a gas line to Sayward, knowing that they have a shortage coming as soon as wood fiber LNG opens. And those are facts. I mean, everyone knew that Capital Power was shutting down in October of 2026. And the reason they're shutting down or was going to shut down was because they were going to lose their natural gas supply. Now, with recent events, BC Hydro admitting that they're in a deficit for power, they're scrambling to figure out how they're going to keep that plant going or convince people that browning out Vancouver Island is a good idea. Basically, they have to figure out how they're going to get themselves out of the trouble that they created. But the problem is there is no gas for Capital Power.
Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. This kind of reminds me of the same scenario that Area D was facing with hydro, that unless we were willing to pay hydro a considerable sum of money, they were not willing to actually disclose the costs. And it was through some persistence that we were able to get high-level costs. It's not the definitive costs, but at least it allowed us to properly evaluate whether or not a project was viable or not. I see the same thing, and ironically with BC Hydro, I know that what they were asking for in terms of the design fees. I mean, I have colleagues that were quite capable of doing that work at not even a third of that cost. So it does remind me that, you know, when you get to control the monopoly, you also get to set the costs. I don't think it hurts if it's not an expensive opposition or an expensive project. I don't think it hurts to try and narrow down, you know, what is the overall cost. Because at least then, you know, the residents, you can go back to the residents and say, you know, is this something that you want me to continue on with, or do I abandon it? And until that's really known, you know, and obviously the gas company's not willing to look at it. So perhaps maybe if the cost isn't onerous, what would it hurt to explore what would that cost be to get another consultant in? So I struggle with it, and I think that it has merits each way, and it's a matter of evaluating which way you want to go.
Okay, Director Sinnott.
Yeah, well, I know the writer very well because I was married to him from Fortis. But I can tell you what's going on in this letter is, you know, very high technical regulated requirements. Like we're outside the service area for the actual certificate that they're allowed to operate. They'd have to go back and say it's a matter of public convenience and necessity, be able to lay out all this very, you know, high test in front of a regulator to expand their service area. Then they would have to embed all the costs back into their existing ratepayers. And they'd have to show that it was in the interest of their various ratepayers. But embedded in this is there's very interesting wording like planning studies, route evaluation. I can just tell you the number of bridge crossings anytime you're dealing with stream, things like that, it's going to be very, very pricey. But the interesting line I found is potential compression or reinforcement requirements. That's the lack of gas supply. And that comes out of Coquitlam. So hopefully with Hydro looking at Capital Power, they're going to reevaluate the compressions that they've done in Coquitlam because it's been a pretty sensitive watershed area. And that's the preliminary problem. That's a big, big change in their rate base just for Fortis to supply extra gas to the island. So it's not really just what's happening up in Sayward, but if we had some preliminary ideas, if I was like, well, we got 500 customers, I don't even think we have that. Like what is the real revenue? Would that even cover one crossing of a river over time? Or is it other alternatives that Sayward people might want to look at, including having storage facilities? They already use propane, maybe use natural gas, but even building out the facility in your town, like all the meter sets, the requirement for emergency personnel stationed in the area in case there's a gas line leak. It's complicated. I'm just saying, having lived it in my life.
Director Davis, then Director Lott.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think I might have said this before, but assuming the natural gas is available, I think the only financially viable way of doing it would be to barge up tanks and then just run your lines within town. But I think you're again going to find it's prohibitively expensive for many of the reasons are already cited.
Thank you. Director Lott.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to get a market system work. Must have come loose. Again, thank you, Chair. I'm an advocate of letting the free market system work, and if the private sector company can see profitability in an enterprise, they'll pursue it. I don't think we should be legislating them into it. Thank you.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
So I'll move option C, Mr. Chair, that the matter of extending natural gas systems to serve the village of Sayward not be pursued at this time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Kerr, number 8.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And that policies number 2, 11, 16, 59, and 63 enacted by the Comox Strathcona Regional District and inherited by the Strathcona Regional District be revoked.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lanyon, number 9.
I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
And Mr. Koopman can speak to this.
Through the chair to the board, your blessing is required to please incorporate the just over $32,000 received from this grant so we can take emergency managers, primarily in the SRD, but also from our mutual aid partners and neighboring communities on a 2-day cultural safety tour in the Homolko First Nation traditional territory.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
That the 2026 to 2030 financial plan be amended to incorporate $32,503.20 from the 2026 Indigenous Cultural Safety / Cultural Humility Grant to fund the activities identified in the June 19th, 2026 report from the CAO.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lott, number 10.
Thank you, Chair. Number 10, Firefighters Health Act, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
And Mr. Koopman can speak to this as well.
Yeah, through the board, our first principle in the BC Emergency Management System is to ensure the health and safety of all our first responders and professional volunteers. So I do need to start by recognizing that this act is revolutionary in British Columbia in moving that forward, which was also stated by its passing down in Victoria with no dissenting votes. So the concept of this act has our full support. However, before the province starts assigning how we go about meeting the requirements in this act, we're hoping for some more engagement and better addressing of the healthcare shortages, not just in our regional district, but throughout the province, and any financial assistance that they can provide with helping our firefighters obtain the mandatory screening. Many of our communities struggle to access a family doctor already, even if they live in communities that have them.
Further discussion? Director Lott? No, oh, your mic's on, sorry. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. It's on receipt. B, please.
B, that the concerns raised in the June 19, 2026 report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the Firefighters Health Act be provided to the province of British Columbia.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Discussion? Director Colburn?
I'm just wondering, I know this is coming from us, but are we seeing other regional districts on this? Because it seems like an EMBC emergency, or sorry, EMR, you know what I'm talking about, emergency management changes that they made, that the ripples in the pond may be bigger than we had thought. So that was my only suggestion, was maybe that we CC our concerns to the other regional districts in the province.
I
Second
believe,
that
Sean,
amendment.
correct me if I'm wrong, this came as a request from other local governments to write back. So we're responding from folks that have. Yeah.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None, motion's carried. Director Mawhinney, number 11.
Thank you, Chair. Suitability of Crown lands for housing development, Quadra Island. Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in discussion, Director Dahl?
I was just a little confused about why we would be trying to go down this road when there's developers, people that own property there that have offered land up at no charge in trade for subdivision of their property, but they've been turned down by the electoral area director. Now, as soon as you go to the province and ask to get Crown land, the first thing they're going to do is go to the First Nations and offer that land to them. So then the nation will buy the land and you still don't have the land. They will not sell Crown land to a municipality, electoral area, or anybody else unless all of the nations in the area have had the land offered to them already. So you've got someone standing there with land saying, I will give you this. And then you say no, but then you go to the province and ask to buy land. I don't understand that concept when you know that the chances of receiving the land are almost nil.
Director Mawhinney? Oh, Director Von Esch first.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this sort of broaden the scope a bit to a piece of land on Cortez Island 2 on Beasley Road. It's a piece of property that's gone through, I think, 6 years of engagement with the province. They went through the First Nations process. The First Nations said no. So now they're at the place where they're about to release it to the free market. So what I'm advocating for to the province is, particularly with this piece of land in Cortez, which is right beside the school, right across from the health center, right across from community amenities, is that, wouldn't it be great if the province could pass this land on to the housing society and we could get some housing built on it. So I think this is just sort of a way to sort of advocate to the province to, consider this as a way to address the housing crisis on Cortez. And I think the development that you're speaking about, ultimately that got failed because we've had these discussions is that it didn't pass the public hearing, and that the offer of the free piece of land came in after the hearing, and that I would certainly welcome another application from that developer that makes that more clear from the beginning and goes through the public process.
Director Mawhinney was first and then Director Dahl. Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
hang on. Director Dahl can respond.
I just want to respond to the property that's been waiting for 6 years for the electoral area to be able to purchase it. And now it's going to go out to the free market. So in 2018 or so, we tried to make an application for Vancouver Island Motorsports Association to buy a piece of Crown land. It was connected to the airport. We are now 8 years later, so not a whole lot of difference in timeline. But what the province came back with was, if you want to do that, you will have to subdivide that piece of property off and then buy it at full market value, the city, and then the city can give it to Vancouver Island Motorsports. But the province was not giving away any land for free. And when we've been at UBCM, the province has said they do not give away land. There is no more land being created. So what they have, they value. So I doubt that we're going to convince them to give away land for free. It will be the same process that it is on Cortez right now, and it has been in Campbell River for the last 8 years. Figure out what the value of the land is and buy it.
Hey, Director Mawhinney, then Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to staff for the report. We all know the housing need in our communities, and I imagine I'm not alone in being disappointed from this response from the province. Creating accessible and affordable housing in rural communities is incredibly challenging. There are many barriers, and access to land is just the first. And I'm hoping that we can write back to the province and ask them to support a consideration of a policy change, because I think if they can't even support a policy change or other path, really rural communities will continue to sit on the sidelines. And I wanted to mention that a while ago, I attended an online meeting around housing with Lisa Helps of BC Builds, and she said that if there was Crown land which could be used for housing, that she and her team at BC Builds could help unlock it. So I have a follow-up motion that I'm hoping we can write to the province and include BC Builds in that, inquiring if they can help us to unlock the land so we can get on with building attainable and affordable housing on Quadra Island, hopefully in collaboration with a local affordable housing society. And, you know, I think that it's kind of interesting to me, this report that shows that there's not even a road to it, but they expect there to be market value for the land. And I would think that perhaps when we write a letter, we can make a case for consideration of the costs of improvements that are required to be taken off of the property price. So, Mr. Chair, I have provided in advance a motion to Edith, and I would like to make a motion following receipt, please.
Okay, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. And just question, it was almost, I was wondering whether a point of order would be relevant. This motion is regarding Quadra Island, so I'm confused why there was a discussion about Cortez Island and 6 years and how that was even relevant to the motion that we're discussing.
Right. Did you want to follow up on that?
Sure. Yeah, I think what I said is that I'd like to expand the scope of this, and I think I'm probably going to amend the motion that Director Mawhinney is going to make to include Cortez as well.
Okay, Director Mawhinney, your motion?
I think we have
I think we got to
receive
vote
it.
on receipt first.
Oh, on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Go ahead, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move, whereas there is a need for attainable and affordable housing options in rural communities, and whereas building rural housing has additional challenges, that staff work with the Area C Director to craft a letter to the province with regard to the disposition of lots 7 and 8 on Quadra Island, including requesting an expansion of the policy for residential use to allow regional districts to develop and operate residential housing, and for consideration of no or low fee disposition of lots 7 and 8 to the Strathcona Regional District for use for attainable and affordable housing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that. I don't think I'm going to amend this motion. I think mine is slightly different intention.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, Director Dahl?
I just wanted to ask the CAO about using the word residential use to allow regional districts to develop and operate residential housing. Should that not be electoral area?
I suppose so, because it certainly wouldn't be municipalities. So, I mean, we could amend that to say electoral areas.
Mr. Chair or Mr. CAO, I thought that it would likely end up being a collaboration between the housing service that we have as a regional housing service and a nonprofit. So that's why I had included regional district in there. And as to the policy for residential use, that's the title of the policy for the province that's included in this report.
Might be semantics. I mean, the letter is going to kind of outline in detail what we're hoping for. So again, just motions are, to give myself and staff direction on what the board would like. I think I understand what this is if the board passes it. So I don't get too caught up in the odd word here or there.
Okay, Director Senate?
I'm a little bit disturbed that we're already prejudging that we want to acquire these 2 lots when we have information from the staff report that we don't know if it's service, it's not on the road, and those costs themselves could outweigh any type of affordability and attainability at the end of the day. So why are we asking for something we don't even know if we can use?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Director Rice is opposed. Director Colburn didn't vote. I'm sorry? Director Kerr, Director Senate, Director Dahl, Director Lanyon, Director Chapman.
We have Director Davis and Jack online. Yeah, it's probably easier, Director Davis and Director Jack, if you just say you either voted in favor or opposed to the motion.
In favor?
In favor.
Director Dahl. Director Lanyon,
My math says the motion passed.
Director Chapman. 8 opposed.
Eight opposed.
It's 8 opposed.
Oh, what's it? Oh, sorry.
And so the motion has failed. Okay. Number 12, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Number 12, Comox Valley Regional District Regional Growth Strategy. I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, Meredith will give us a brief overview of this report.
Thank you through the chair. So staff were asked to provide a little bit of an update on the CBRD's regional growth strategy that was provided as correspondence. The correspondence that was provided at the last meeting was a notification that they have now passed and adopted that bylaw with those amendments. There is a summary in the report that goes through sort of the bullets of what changes they've made. All of those are somewhat housekeeping in nature. They've updated their demographic statistics to capture the current census. Mapping that has changed. Some of the sections from the Local Government Act that have been updated since have been updated as references in the draft document, or the bylaw rather. And a few other kinds of more, again, housekeeping type amendments. And also, just as for awareness, the bylaw was brought forward to the SRD board in November as a referral. And at that time, the board had no comment to make on it. So it has now been adopted, and that was our notification of that. Thank you.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Director Davis, 13.
Sorry, you caught me off guard there. Grant partnership opportunity, Moachot and Mushlat First Nation, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
And Mr. Koopman will speak to this for us.
Through the chair to the board, this report is an opportunity to partner with the Mawahad Muchalat First Nation to undertake a Scotch broom and invasive species eradication project down on their reserve lands at the Gold River waterfront. Both myself and Director Law can confirm the Village of Gold River has also passed their resolution of support at their council meeting last Monday.
Okay, further discussion? Director Lott?
Just want to affirm what Mr. Koopman has said, that Gold River Council supports this.
Thank you. Director Wally?
I just mentioned from my own experience when I bought my property in Sayward, it's got to be 40 years ago. It was a little crop of broom there, which I promptly cut down and burned. And I have been removing the seeds that have germinated ever since. So this is a long-term project.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Director Colburn?
It's interesting, though, what can happen in a very small geographical area, and what I know that we take on big projects like this. There's the broom busters that do the island highways and things like that, but I've often wondered what would happen if someplace that was quite small and limited in geographical and within a valley actually did a project like this. So good on them.
Director Davis?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. From my own experience, pulling broom out of the ground by just wrapping webbing around them all before it's seeding is very effective. So.
Okay. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B, Director Davis.
that the regional district support partnering with the Mochop Mushlet First Nation and its 2026 Rapid Adaptation Projects grant application regarding the Scotch broom infestations at Ahaminakwas.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Director Murwini, number 14.
Thank you, Chair. Requests for financial assistance for electoral area C. Move that the report from the CAO be received.
Discussion? Director Murwini.
Thank you, Chair. There are many excellent volunteer community organizations on Quadra Island doing great work, and these two grant applications are to support two such organizations. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at them. For the Quadra Island Conservancy, that will support with their insurance costs for maintaining public access to Mort Lake, and the Discovery Islands Chamber of Commerce with funds to provide and maintain portable outhouses for trailheads and Village Bay Lake. And when this was discussed at the Electoral Area Services Committee, I made a follow-up motion, which was supported, and you will find it under the addendum. And I'm hoping when we get to that, you will support a request for a report to investigate other options for rustic toilets. But for now, this is the best option.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll move that the financial assistance for the Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society be provided from the Electoral Area C grant and aid budget in the amount of $1,340 to assist with 2026 insurance costs, and that financial assistance for the Discovery Islands Chamber of Commerce be provided for the from the Electoral Area C Economic Development Service budget in the amount of $6,212 to assist with the provision of portable toilet rentals in outdoor recreation areas on Quadra Island.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Wally.
Number 15, meeting opportunity, Minister of State Brittany Anderson, the report to CEO will be received.
Second.
If I may, Mr. Chair, so the ministry has reached out to local governments, I suspect on the whole island, mid-north. They're doing a bit of a tour of the Ministry of State. I've never heard of that one before. That's a new one. And has asked if all local governments would like to meet with her. So we've accepted the invitation, and they've asked for some agenda items. So we reached out to directors to ask if they had any topics. I think some of them didn't align with the board's initiatives or financial support. So I thought maybe best to come to the board and get endorsement for the meeting topics that we may want to present in front of Ms. Anderson, given that we only also have an hour with them. So, you know, maybe 3 or 4, 5 of the tops would probably be recommended.
Director Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my suggestion is a Cayuga Walters Island water supply. The province has thrown a wrench in the system that we've had in place probably for 30 years, where they have a water line that comes over from the First Nations village. And the problem is with 20 homes there in Walters Island, they don't have the tax base to be able to afford a big treatment plant or whatever. A very simple solution would be to grandfather the current arrangement, which the province is able to do if they were willing. So that would be my suggestion to the delegation, to just grandfather this and let's be done with it.
Okay. Director Colburn, then Director Rice.
And I'd be interested in hearing like what the other communities had to say. I answered this and I tried to keep it regional. For instance, I think the 2 things that I said was there was something about the regreening, about the slide area from the 2019 wildfire that is on regional district, lands, crown lands. And then the other one was communications, because it's interesting that they reached out and we're going to do kind of an island tour, and we can't get an email reply from them for the last 8 months. So there's some communication kind of issues going on there. So those were kind of my 2 suggestions. I'd be interested in knowing what the others had to say. It would have been great to have a little bit of a kind of a list and see, where we could all align.
Okay, next. Director Rice, and then Director Murwini.
Thank you, Chair. I did send in some suggestions, and I think one of the ones that I'm still quite interested in, particularly around infrastructure, is getting cooperation from the Ministry of Transportation and Transit when it comes to stormwater management. And I don't know if that's something that this could be discussed at this meeting.
Okay, Director Moini.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking forward to this discussion with the Minister of State, Brittany Anderson, and I'm curious what the format is, if it will be considered a special meeting of the board, and would there be community members able to observe? Or will it be on YouTube, or how does that look from a?
Edith can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's an open meeting. It's not a formal meeting. It's on their schedule. I think they're stopping at all the municipalities as well. I think they're, no? Maybe on a different tour. I'm almost certain they're at Campbell River and other local governments. So no, not a formal committee of the board, just a meeting with the minister and their staff. And have I got that wrong?
Okay, so it's not a public meeting. Okay, thank you for that clarification. So, the report states that ministry works closely with local governments to ensure rural communities have the tools and resources needed to remain sustainable, resilient, and economically vibrant. And I would be interested to hear from Minister Anderson the recommended requirements for community consultation from a regional board prior to consideration of adding an area to an already established service, especially one which comes with an annual price tag in the hundreds of dollars per home.
Okay, Director Davis.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't submit anything formally, but I would be interested in having a discussion on what they can do to help us in enhancing aquaculture on our coast. Because it's a difficult thing for small communities to navigate when so many of the consultations are now between the provincial government jurisdiction, federal jurisdiction, First Nations consultation, environmental, et cetera, et cetera. Because I know for us in Tassus, we've been sort of spinning our wheels on this over the years and not getting anywhere. And we have great potential for shellfish production and seaweed aquaculture in this area, which so far hasn't been realized. So I'd love to add that as a potential discussion topic.
Director Colburn.
I'm just wondering how well staffed she is, because that would be my question. This is a large portfolio. You're dealing with the rural and, communities, and, what kind of time does she have? We're always looking to coordinate between different ministries, and it seems we can't get anywhere. And so, those kind of multi-ministerial meetings that we've asked for. And so I'm wondering, if they even have the staff to even coordinate a meeting between other staff. I'm just curious.
I have no idea. I assume they'll show up with a posse of 5 or 6, though. That's pretty standard practice. I don't know how many are left back at Victoria, but as far as we're concerned, they've offered themselves up on this tour and looking for just topics of discussion.
Okay, Director Lott.
I'd like to see us continue to press our case for last mile funding for the Connected Coast project.
That's probably under citizen services, though, although I appreciate and respect that they'll just defer that to citizen services.
Okay, so we have several suggestions on the board. We need 3, 4 max. Sorry, go ahead, Director Jack.
Yeah, water's been brought up already for Hoopsatas and Walters Island as well. But I think power for the same thing. The power comes through our village and over to the other side as well. So that would be something that I would put on as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Again, we need 3 or 4.
So my list, I have 8. Just kind of running through for Cayucet, we have Cayucet Water, Cayucet Power. We have help with enhancing aquaculture. The slide area, regreening slide area in Zabalis. Communications, just as a high level. Stormwater management in Area D, and community consultation to existing services. Again, I'm not intimately familiar with this ministry. It sounds like more, municipal affairs type when they were handing out the money focused on infrastructure. It seems like the money ministry. My non-expert opinion would be to support things of tangible investment like Walters Island Water, KCFN Power, Area D Stormwater Management, and the Zabalis regreening, because those are things that we're hoping to get financial support. And again, I don't have familiarity, much of it, certainly with the Ministry of State. I've never even heard of it before a month ago. But it feels like they're an infrastructure-based support ministry. And I mean, that's my humble opinion, but it's certainly not, I'm, as Director Mawhinney spouted off there, they are spouting off that what they do in delivery, which is quite broad, but it feels like infrastructure.
Okay, Director Colburn.
And further to that, I think that a lot of these projects are linkages to other ministries. So what is their role in doing that? I think as a kind of a larger, we're looking for help for transportation and transit. We're looking for, so are they a linking? That would be a question that I'd like to ask, for that is if you're infrastructure based and you're, a funding kind of mechanism, then how are your linkages with those? How you would think that would be part of their role and part of their mandate, but I'm not quite sure. So
it can often be not part of their role or mandate, but as I don't want to share with Director Law is they like to deflect as quickly as they can and say that's not us. So they'll go, oh, citizen services. So it seems like infrastructure here, and anything that isn't, they're quick to deflect and say, oh gosh, we can't help you with that, but we'll give you a phone number.
but what if there are requirements that you need multi-ministerial? So that's my
Yeah, there's always that, but again, I like to lean on the things where we need, infrastructure money for, could be Q Cove sewer, can be power, can be water, could be storm. Those seem like infrastructure things that we need financial assistance with. So that's my feeling. I can't guarantee because I have no experience with this ministry. And
Okay, so we got Director Mawhinney and then Director Chapman.
Thanks, Chair. To me, when I read the report, it sounded like this Minister of State is really involved in local governance. It talks about land use planning and zoning and taxation and overseeing the legislative frameworks that guide local government services. So I think that there's maybe a little bit more of a governance lens than there is of an infrastructure lens. At least that was my perspective. And I would respectfully submit that discussing the requirements for community consultation for adding a tax to an area would be something that would be well within the outline of that we are presented here with of the topics that we could discuss with the Minister of State.
Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is just an attempt by the province to increase the profile of Minister Anderson. I mean, I've never heard of her till I read the report. And the province doesn't have any, the province doesn't have any money to do anything. So this can only be to increase a profile. I'll be here, but I'm not going to be disappointed when we don't get anything other than a sympathetic ear for a short time.
Director Davis?
Thanks, Chair. I took the liberty of looking up her job description online, and it says grow the economy by creating good jobs across British Columbia. Will collaborate with businesses, workers, and communities to attract investments in both new and traditional sectors, as well as emerging sectors of the economy. So the idea is to help us to grow the economy.
Okay, thank you. So we got several suggestions on the floor. Right now, we need 3 or 4. So I guess the best way to do it is by vote. Okay, so we'll start off with the number 1 was.
All right, so no particular order, just wrote them down. Power to KCFN.
All in favor?
Well, you can. It's just, we have an hour to speak about it. So KCFN Power and Water for sure. Those are 2 topics. Like, it doesn't bother me. It's just consuming time. So I don't really care.
Okay. Director Dahl?
I thought Director Jack said that they get power from KCFN the same way they get their water, sort of add
Yeah,
the hydro to the water for Walters.
It's complicated. They have a, and Director Jack, jump in if I got this wrong, but they're delivered power by non-BC Hydro, and the reliability and the amount of power is inconsistent, and there's not enough volume to accommodate the area. So the challenge is upgrading that power line or getting BC Hydro to bring power into there. So it's about the volume of power they receive, the limited ability they have through the private power authority that provides it, and the lack of consistency there. So,
It's a single phase system, which is coming to the end of its life, basically.
Yeah, I don't think there's a connection to the water. That's what I'm saying.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, the water, they get the water pumped from a well, but I don't think, and again, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they have bigger challenges than power from their well. Like, that's not a huge draw on power.
Yeah, it's the power and the water are 2 separate entities essentially, and they both the concern for the single phase line is that we cannot develop anything because of the single phase system, and then not enough power to draw through, I guess, or whatever, and that the system is coming to the end of its life, basically. And the water is the Walters Island is provided through our water system, which is a well system, and it's was at max capacity a while ago, and Walters Island's been developing. Somebody just added themselves on last week. Somebody that's building a new house over there, and it going against that our system is at max capacity, and it's doomed to fail.
So it seemed their support for power and water, those will consume the amount of time they'll consume. So stormwater management in Area D, that was next I had on my list.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? You're opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I voted in favor, but my question is that the report that we're looking at here states that the meeting is from 10 until 11:30, which is an hour and a half. And I'm just wondering, we managed to fit 3 topics into a ministerial meeting when we're at UBCM in 15 minutes. So is it possible that we could fit the 7 or 8 that we have on the list into an hour and a half? And then we don't have to vote.
Yeah, sure. We can do all that, talk fast and, all that. There's only one on the list that honestly seems a little awkward. And I know everyone didn't support the recreation, the addition to it, but that is a motion that the board supported and went to the province. So we are going to have a minister and we're going to talk to her against something that technically has board support. That seems a little odd to me.
I hear what you're saying, and I tried to frame it in the way of like asking what level of community consultation the province would expect in something like that.
It is something that the board supported. So bringing that up as, an issue just again seems odd to me.
Well, let's vote on it. Okay, sorry, Director Rice.
Just a comment, and I mean, I'm not opposed to anything until I hear the discussion, but with regards to the rec center, that is already being reviewed by the province. So why do we have to bring another ministry into it? It's already being reviewed and we don't know the outcome of it. And I don't see how it's helpful to bring that in this meeting, when it's already being reviewed by other ministries. That's just my thought.
Okay, so to wrap it up quickly here, we're going to vote on Director Mulwiney's motion there. All in favor?
Well,
Not motion, sorry,
just
suggestion. Opposed? Okay, motion is defeated. Motion, sorry, habit.
The suggestion.
Suggestion.
So I think with the remainder of them, we'll just bundle this in and try and work in conversation in the hour and a half we have. I'm
Okay.
satisfied with what I have here to populate, and Edith can supply, and they might reject some of it too, so I don't know.
Okay, moving on. Number 16, Director Lanyon.
I'll move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
Move that invoice number 969 in the amount of $605,309.71 from Broad Street Properties Limited be approved for payment.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I just, because it's Broad Street Properties, this is just a side editorial that I can't help making a comment to. Troll Civic Info, and they put new stories of what great things local government is doing. And I saw last night, I was on there, that Langford had this brilliant, bold new idea for building housing to attract doctors. I thought, geez, I wonder where they got that idea from. So I know the mayor often talks with the folks from Langford. So when they come up with this bold, great idea next time, you can say that was our idea, not yours. Anyways, editorial over.
So it's 4 minutes after 3. Did you guys want to take a quick break? I hear yep across the board. Okay, here we go. Bylaws, number 1, Director Mulwiney.
Great, thank you, Chair. Bylaw number 644, Surge Narrows Wharf License Agreement, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll move that bylaw number 644, being Surge Narrows Wharf Licensing Agreement Authorization Bylaw 2026, be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Wally.
Bylaw number 645, Seward Valley Solid Waste Service Rates Amendment. The report from CEO be received.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
Move that bylaw number 645, being a bylaw to amend the rates for use for the Seward Valley Solid Waste Collection System, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 645 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is
And
carried.
finally, I move that bylaw number 645 being Hayward Valley Solid Waste Collection Rates and Regulations bylaws 2018, and then amendment number 4 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Von Ash, number 3.
Thank you, Chair. Bylaw number 651, Cortez Island Seniors Support Service. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Discussion? Director Rice.
Just a question. I thought that at the last board that there was supposed to be a report coming with these. Am I incorrect on that?
The motion was that bylaw be prepared.
But I also thought that a follow-up, in the discussion, it was discussed that we weren't really clear on the service itself, so that staff would be providing a report on that.
What we did was at the last meeting, we got direction and we provided the draft bylaw at the EASC for input and comment. I think there was minor changes to it. And then that draft bylaw is here for, before you.
Okay. Dr. Dahl.
I'm not going to, on receipt, I just wanted to make a point before we move on to the next, to B, that I'm not opposed to this, but I think that we have received quite a bit of correspondence from the residents of Cortez. And I think that it should be considered that we've received a lot of correspondence from the residents of Cortez. And they've all only asked for public consultation before this motion goes forward. So I would just, it's a friendly suggestion to the electoral area B rep, Director Von Ash, that he pause this until he's had an opportunity for bylaws 651 and 652 to be discussed with his community. They've made it an overwhelming plea to have that. And I don't think it's unreasonable. Like I said, I'm not going to make a motion and I'm not going to oppose whatever direction the director takes. But up until this morning, or up until this bylaw, I had never had residents of Cortez reach out to me directly or phone me. And they're pretty passionate about wanting some communication. I think it sounds like a reasonable ask. I don't live on Cortez, but I promised that I was going to bring this up and ask the director to consider their wishes. So that is my piece as far as 651 and 652. Same comments for both.
Thank you. Director Von Ash.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Baker, for the comments, and thank you for all the Cortez Islanders that did write in and engage with directors around the table. I think the big thing, a couple things I'll say about this. One is the services for youth and seniors as described in these bylaws. These are things that are coming to the board every year for requests through grants and aid, and the feedback I've received from the board is, if there's things that are coming back every year that we should be considering services. And then regarding the consultation, I think that this is the ultimate consultation is what I'm doing, is that by passing this today and having it go to the ministry for approval and having it be as a referendum in the October election, it really allows Cortez Islanders to decide. I think these are worthy things and certainly going to benefit youth and seniors and their families on Cortez. But ultimately, this is me consulting with the community saying, hey, is this something that's important to you? And, please have your voice heard on October 17th. And, I certainly respect the outcome of what that referendum would be. Thank you.
Yep, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I also received phone calls from people on Cortez, which is a shock to me. My first response was that I'm not the director for that area, but I gave them an opportunity to speak. And yes, there is concerns, and it's the same concerns that I raised in the last board meeting is that, one, I don't quite understand how this service is supposed to work. You know, when I take a look at the broad strokes that we've seen in the reports, it looks like, you know, you want to collect money to give to third parties and you're expecting staff to do that for Cortez. I don't quite see how that relates into transparency or good governance or accountability or any of those things. That's why I had asked, you know, for further information from staff so that I could weigh in my mind, how does this work? You know, as I said in the last board meeting, services we typically, you know, we have a contract and there's terms to that service, there's accountability on that service, you know, and if we're not happy with the service, we can go back and make requests and changes. But I don't see how that falls in place with this. I think the other part that was raised to me in my phone conversations with the people that called me was that it's great that this goes out to referendum, but it's just a question on a ballot. And they really have not been given an opportunity to have the information. So there was a lot of confusion, and I would concur with what Director Dahl said. You know, perhaps maybe you need to go back, set this aside. It's not that I'm opposed to the concept. It's just there's a lot of pieces that seem to be missing in my mind, and I think that it would be fair to come back to the board if you want to use the board as the vetting tool to provide, you know, more information on how this service, two services, are even going to run. Once we have these services, they're hard to get away. You know, they're hard to remove, and it takes time.
Hey, Director Sinnott, then Director Wally.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I actually was quite pleased when Director Vinesh mentioned that this is sort of to regularize what's happening on a ad hoc basis over and over. And we'd talked about the good governance of putting it through staff to reduce any potential bias or missing people who might actually deservedly get services because they don't know the system well enough and they don't come forward to a director who does it under grants and aids package. So I'm actually quite pleased. I just was curious, is the idea that, because we've heard some letters saying, oh, this is going to increase our taxes, but presumably then the grants and aid budget goes down. So is it largely neutral, but there's some administrative costs that goes with obviously greater oversight and administrative burden, which, you know, I think that's not a bad trade-off to ensure that you have regularized and properly run services. So I was just curious whether that was kind of a message that people hadn't heard.
Yeah, I think there's certainly the potential, if I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's potentially the service there, the potential there that this lessens the burden on grant and aid. You know, since my time here, grant and aid is usually, you know, we're approving half or less of the requests that come in. So it's already, there's already big strain on that service. And I think as far as the process goes, you know, assuming this bylaw passes, that, you know, the next step is for us as a board to develop some policy around that, around how it works, and love sort of CAO input on just to confirm that.
Well, we created I can't remember policy or bylaw in terms of creating new services. So I would say there is some framework. We developed that a couple of years ago. So I think that does exist right now. So I don't anticipate anything further coming forward, but.
And Director Wally.
I was just going to say the same people that phone you guys phone me too. Seems to be, from my take on it, was their main concern was just taxation in general. They didn't really like the size of the grant and aid funds. And this they saw as just the same kind of thing. But, you know, realistically, for efforts of this dimension, you can't do it grant and aid year after year after year. You might as well make a service out of it. That's, I think, what we agreed was appropriate in our policy. That's what Director Vinesh is doing. I think this is appropriate. And sure, when you put anything up to a vote, you're going to get a large segment of the population not happy with it. But in a democracy, 51% wins. So that's the way it should be, and that's the way it is. So I support it.
On receipt. Oh, Director Lanyon.
Yeah, I didn't quite get a straight answer there. Like, in theory, everything that is going to feed from this service financially would have gone through the grant and aid process. Is that a correct statement?
I think the grant and aid service hasn't been enough to be able to provide certainty and stability for youth and seniors on Cortez, and this is a way to address that.
Okay, because I was just trying to do the math on this, like it's $0.054 per $1,000 of assessed value. And if there's, about $400,000 average house price on Cortez and 800 of those, that puts us at like $17,000 of new requisition. I got that off of the internet, but
Yeah, the average property value on Cortez is basically 700.
Okay.
So this would, at the requisition rate we have in the bylaw, would be about $37 per property as a maximum if the property value stayed the same right now.
okay. So about $30,000 of
35.
total requisition. And is that, there's two different services, one for youth, one for seniors. So is it about $40,000 times two?
Yes, $35,000 for each service, yeah.
Okay. And then what was the grant and aid quantum before this? And will it stay
30.
the same?
30.
30 total.
Yeah.
So this effectively, would the grant and aid be eroded then? Like the size of it?
It may decrease pressure on it, but the big thing here, I think, is that for youth and seniors, there's just ongoing things that are needed, and this is the best way to address it. I'll speak to youth first, but for youth, it's every year they're struggling to figure out how to do after-school programs, how to provide the after-school care and supports for young people in Cortez, and it's just a scramble every year. And young people are so important to our communities, especially in rural communities. What can we do to support young people and in turn support families and make Cortez a viable place to live and a place that really values our young people and also provides the support so that older folks can live in place and get the supports that they need as they age.
Right. Okay. And then this service is created, it gets funded about $80,000, two services. How is, like, we approve this bylaw, where's the decision-making authority in terms of which programs or not-for-profits are eligible for funding?
Decision-making authority is at the board, similar to any other service. So any proposals or projects would come here and we would discuss them and consider them
It seems like it's too small. Like each individual thing is too small for this board. So I think it would actually be a budget time and it would be the area director that would make those recommendations into the budget. And then it would be up to the board to parse those if we cared enough, which we don't. And then pull out the things that we thought were ideological or preferential treatment. So I think there's a level of opacity, or like we can't see past the first layer as a board because it's too small and it would require too many questions, more than we have time for. So I'm not sure, if long term it's truly administrable on the scale that we're seeing this at. And it's no personal attack on anybody. It's just I've always been concerned about the governance structure of EAs and grants and aids and their ability to be used as vote buying mechanisms. And not saying that's you, but could be future. Certainly, I would say has been past, maybe not in this regional district, but other EAs have used grant and aids to preferred groups as means of acquiring votes and support for political things. And it's just a natural outcome of a small decision-making base of one. So that's my concern. Aside from, I love supporting youth, absolutely. I think that's the most disadvantaged group that we have right now. That 18 to 25 group is feeling a sense of hopelessness as trying to launch into this impossible economy. Seniors, I'm not an expert on that, but I know that there's definitely a subset of seniors that is not well off and are struggling without any ability to generate income. So, yeah, I don't know. I see this as definitely an expansion of social services. It's an expansion of taxation to fund those social services. And then it just comes down to a question of if your constituency would agree with your ideology surrounding the delivery of those services and which groups are picked.
Right.
So, and that's going to be up to the voter, I suppose, to decide that.
Yeah, that's certainly my intention is that we have 4 months to have these discussions in the community, and October 17th, people can decide whether they want to support it or not. And that's the decision we will respect. And I think you're right. It is a very small amount, $35,000 when you're trying to do youth programming. It might sound a lot when you're not used to having any funding for youth programming, but it is a small amount. And my intention is to bring all the youth serving organizations together and figure out where are the gaps and how can we work together and use the best use of this money. I know, in times like this where, the economy is tight, it's important that we as a government really operate efficiently and that we're using these tax dollars in a way that has the biggest impact and has the most, for me, collaboration, really working with all the organizations on Cortez that serve youth and seniors and making sure that we're doing this right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess I don't even, this is not a motion thing, but in the first year, I think we do have to look at it as a board and just give us a bit of analysis in terms of which programs are being included and just I'm looking for sort of political agnosticism here. I don't want groups that have political affiliations being tied into a steady funding stream and it just being so small that no one ever questions it again. So yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah, that's fair. And just to give a sense of the youth serving organizations on Cortez, we have the school, we have the Southern Cortez Community Association, we have the Cortez Community Health Association, we have the Parent Advisory Council, we have the Cortez Island Academy, we have the Whaletown Community Center, we have Clahoots First Nation. So my intention is to bring all of those organizations together and really do this in a good way.
Great. Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Director Vanesh. You somewhat answered my question with your last statement. What I was wondering is that you mentioned that your grants and aids has always fallen short and that there was always other third parties that were looking for money. So again, that's really, if you could provide a little bit more clarity, is there already the means on Cortez to deliver programs? And who would be delivering those?
Yeah, there's the 6 or 7 organizations that I mentioned are delivering them. And they struggle every year to, raise a few $1,000s to make sure that they can do consistent Friday night youth nights or help youth get to, a basketball tournament off island or, all sorts of things. So the capacity is certainly there, and the struggle and why I'm bringing this forward is to provide a small amount of funding so that we're really taking care of and honoring our youth and seniors so that Cortez can be a really great place to live.
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. And I think this is a really interesting idea. And I think that for me, when I look at the trade-off, right now there may be, we know we have a few letters of correspondence here to receive. The folks that have left have expressed concern and there's been phone calls of concern. And I think ultimately this path where this is being taken to bring it to everybody and for everybody that takes the time to go and vote at the local general elections in October will have a chance to weigh in on this. So it is truly a community decision. And I think from hearing from my community over the last 3.5 years, that the Alder option, which is an alternative approval process, is really not what people want to do. They don't want to have to download a very special form and make sure that it's hand delivered to the board office in order to negative vote something. And so I understand that maybe, the timing seems rushed for some people and ultimately there's still 4 months for the conversation to happen in the community. And I think it's great that we've started that here and outlined the organizations that are going to move into this support role, which I think is great. And I just wanted to remind everybody that with a single participant service, the whole board makes decisions, right? And also when it's a maximum amount in a bylaw, that's the maximum. It doesn't have to be that amount. It could be half that amount. It could be 2/3. So I think, it might end up being phased in pending the needs of the community. And it does provide a much more like maybe a planned approach to providing this service. So I appreciate the work that you're putting into this for both seniors and youth. And it will be interesting to see what the Cortez community feels in October.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I'll move that bylaw number 651, being a bylaw to establish a service for supporting senior citizens within electoral area B, Cortez Island, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 651 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that the approval of the electors for bylaw number 651 be sought through an assent voting process to be held concurrently with the 2026 local government elections.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Director Bodesh.
Number 4, bylaw number 652, Cortez Island Youth Support Service. I'll move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that bylaw number 652, being a bylaw to establish a service for supporting youth organizations within electoral area B, Cortez Island, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 652 be given second and third readings.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that approval of the electors for bylaw number 652 be sought through an assent voting process to be held concurrently within the 2026 local government elections.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Director Von Esch.
Number 5, bylaw number 653, Cortez Island Food Security Hub. I'll move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that bylaw number 653, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement respecting the use of community works funds for the Cortez Island Food Security Hub, be now introduced and read a first time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'll move that rules be suspended and bylaw number 653 be given second and third readings.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I move that bylaw number 653 be returned for further bylaw number 653 be returned for further consideration by the board following approval. Okay, so this is basically saying that I have to sign something and then it comes to the board for final. Is that, am I reading that? Yeah, thanks. So I move that bylaw number 653 be returned for further consideration by the board following approval by the director for electoral area B.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Correspondence 1 through 24.
I would like to pull 23, please, the letters on the services.
I would like to pull 1, 11, 16, and 22.
I'm sorry, what was your request? Yes.
1, 11, 16, and 22.
Second, we received both.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 1, go ahead, Director Mooney.
Move receipt of the correspondence.
Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure what the SRD could do to support this pilot project that the correspondence is mentioning, but I just wanted to note that it appears the attachments to the correspondence were not included, which it makes it more challenging to determine if there is anything that we could do or that I as a director could do to forward on the project to anybody. So I'm just not sure if we can defer receipt of the correspondence and have it come back next month with the attachments, or if the attachments could be added after.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a couple things. We could certainly if there are attachments, we could add them to the next agenda. We could certainly forward the attachments to the directors. That should be easy enough if we have them. I'm assuming they have them. So I think it's not difficult for us to send the directors the attachment.
Okay, great. And could they be attached to the correspondence in the,
Yeah.
on the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, ultimate, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 11, I believe.
Move receipt of the correspondence from the province of BC regarding the regional district's request for exemption from the riparian area regulation be received.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The letter states we would welcome the opportunity to meet with the SRT to discuss concerns and explore potential approaches. And also that there are amendments to the riparian area protection regulation which are being developed and they would be released any minute now because it said June 2026. So following receipt, Mr. Chair, I do have two motions I would like to make. One for a return correspondence to arrange a meeting to which electoral area directors are invited, and the other for a report to the Electoral Area Services Committee, which contains the amendments and guidance materials once they're released.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move that the chair respond to the correspondence from Deputy Minister Lori Halls and arrange a meeting, and that the electoral area directors are invited to participate.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Thank you. And I will move that staff bring a report to the Electoral Area Services Committee, which contains the riparian area protection amendments and associated guidance created by the province once they become available.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. 16.
Thank you, Chair. Move receipt of the correspondence.
Second.
There's 3 items.
Discussion?
I have something I'd like to say, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize these items of correspondence. Quadra Island residents who are taking the time to share their concerns about being taxed for a recreation facility, which has recently taken on a lot of debt that they had no say in approving. And I just wanted to read a couple of excerpts from the letters, as I believe they represent the views of many islanders who are still in shock that a majority of directors at this board table supported an assent vote process which denies Quadra Islanders a meaningful voice. Dana and Colin Perkins write, one of the fundamental pillars and principles of democracy is no taxation without representation. In regards to the Strathcona Gardens Recreate project, there never was any consultation. To expect Area C, Quadra, to pay taxes toward debt after there was no consultation in taxation is taxation without any representation. And they finish by saying, if the intent of the voting is to be one homogeneous block, that makes a complete mockery of democracy. The residents of Quadra Island would be completely outvoted, never given their right to free and fair assent, an illusion of democracy courtesy of the SRD. And there are comments in the correspondence from Karen Horton, which reminds directors that while property tax on Quadra Island may appear lower than other places in the region, this represents a lack of amenities Quadra Island receives through the SRD. Garbage disposal, the Quadra Island Fire Department, wastewater costs, well management, and many other costs that are not seen in the SRD tax rate, but are very real costs that most islanders are paying, which are making Quadra taxes already higher than directors here may realize if they are only looking at our financial plan. These comments represent the vast majority of Quadra community sentiment, and what has happened with Bylaw 643 to include Quadra Island without consultation goes against our strategic priority of community well-being of supporting affordability. And despite all the communication from Area C residents, the board did no communication or engagement on the issue, which is supposed to be another of our good governance priorities. Many Area C residents are extremely disillusioned with this board, and I completely understand why.
Go ahead. Your microphone, please.
We received item 14, which was a deletion from a woodlot by Younger Forest Management. They had requested in their letter a response. So when it's appropriate, I'd like to make just a quick little motion on number 14.
Very well. On receipt on 16. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B. There's no B? 14, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my motion there on 14, deletion Woodlot W 1941. I move that the SRD reply to Younger Forest Management to the effect that we have no comments or questions.
So on receipt,
We already received it.
we received 14?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. 23, I think it was, wasn't it?
22.
23. 22?
Me.
Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Move receipt of item, federal port divestiture program.
Second.
Thank you. May I go ahead?
Let's receive it first. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This correspondence, according to this correspondence, the Cayucit Wharf is a remote port facility and therefore one which the federal government continues to seek divestiture of. I didn't see listed the port at Shoal Bay in Area C, which when I visited last year appeared to also be a Transport Canada wharf or port. I'm just curious if Director Jack from the Cayucit-Checosset Nation has thoughts on this correspondence and would like our board to support the motion that was included in the correspondence, which is to ask FCM to lobby the federal government to stop trying to divest itself of these important access points for remote communities. Well, I'm asking Director Jack if he has thoughts on it because it's the Cayucit Wharf that's listed and I don't know how he feels about that. Just kind of flagging it.
I believe it's the Cayucit Wharf on the Walters Cove side.
Oh, on the Walters
Yeah.
Island side. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, then
yeah,
I guess.
I think it's a Walter Cove Island or.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think Director Wally's made his opinion clear on that.
Which is,
He doesn't want it.
okay, so then maybe you would be in support of the correspondence, which is asking us to provide a motion of support to ask FCM to lobby the federal government to stop trying to divest itself of these important access points.
It's what you want. Yeah, no, it's to stop trying to,
Okay. Okay. So we've already done receipt, so I can just make that motion?
Yes,
Okay, I
please.
didn't actually have one prepared. Oh, no. I'll move that the board support or provide a motion of support. Do we have to? No, we are making the motion of support, sorry.
letter of support.
A letter of support to the correspondence regarding the federal port divestiture program and to FCM lobbying the federal government to stop trying to divest itself of important remote community access points.
Second.
Discussion. Director Wally.
I was just going to say, this is like asking them to stop breathing. They're not going to do that. But the other thing is they haven't got a buyer anyway, so it's got to be.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 23, Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. So just want to acknowledge the sorry. Oh, I'd like to move receipt of the 3 letters regarding new service proposals on Cortez Island.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Oh, I just wanted to address, obviously these 3 letters they're not opposed to any increase in taxation and don't want to see these services happen. I just want to say, I appreciate you all writing in. I think this is what democracy is messy because we never agree on everything. And I know that I represent everybody on Cortez, and sometimes people are going to agree with things I'm bringing forward, and sometimes they aren't. But I always appreciate having those discussions, and encourage people to reach out to me and continue sharing through correspondence at the board if they have things to share. But there's one thing I did want to address. I'm hoping to, if Mr. Koopman, question for you, because of there's a comment here around the local haul tax and the first responder tax that was, if for folks that were on the board table, when this happened, it was a referendum around whether we support operating costs for hall tax and for first responder training. The hall tax passed with 75% approval. The first responder tax approved with 83% approval. So obviously strong support. And I just one thing I wanted to say before I just ask Sean, just to kind of clarify, because they're sort of making some comments that this is some kind of slush fund and not being used in a good way for the services that are being provided. But I just want to say that we live in a democracy. For folks that are listening on Cortez, and that when we have a referendum and 75% of the people there support something, that's what we're going to move forward with. And of course, dissenting voices are always welcome, and those discussions are important. But it's important that we move on, I think, and really acknowledge the community wishes for both of these services. But Sean, if you could just sort of address, the idea that these taxes are being paid for something that's already happening and they're not being used the way they're supposed to be.
And through the chair to the board and the people listening. So the SRD, we have a contractual relationship with the Cortez Island Firefighting Association, which is a registered society under the Societies Act, to provide two services, the fire service and the first responder service. And for those of you that haven't been here for a while, why is it two different services? Because it's two different areas. The first responder service is the entirety of the island to mimic the same service area as BC Ambulance. The fire service does not include the entire island. There's portions of the north and some IR lands on the southeast side, and just a small portion of Tiber Bay. The property is not road accessible across from Gorge Hall. There's small portions of Cortez Island that are not included in the fire service. The Cortez Island Firefighting Association pays their duty officer, the person that answers the phone 24/7 and starts the call, a daily stipend to carry that phone. The majority of calls that the Cortez Island Firefighting Association receive is first responder calls. So starting in this year's budget cycle, when we were doing those budget meetings, we all agreed that we felt it made sense to shift I think it's about $13,000 that was in the firefighting budget over to the first responder budget to better reflect the accuracy of what that money is intended to fund.
Okay, thank you.
So it wasn't an increase in $13,000. We were just shifting from one service to the other, as it's important that the budgets in the service reflect the accuracy of what that service is doing.
Yeah. So can you confirm that the funding for these services are being used for what they're supposed to be used for?
Definitely.
Yeah. And then just if you could also address, the letter says that, people are kind of being paid too much. Are the salaries and the benefits at first responders and the fire department, are those larger than other places? Are they in line? Where are we at?
I mean, that would definitely take a more comparative study through the chair, but I would say if we felt that there was something in dramatic excess, we would bring it to the board's attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on from correspondence to members' report. Director Rice.
Did we?
Like to move.
You didn't have a motion, did you?
No.
No. Right.
Okay. Like to move that the report from April 21st, 2026, report from myself, be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Oh, discussion?
Just a quick couple of notes. I realize that the Strathcona Gardens is a contentious item. As you can see in my community, this was a very quick survey that was put together, and the amount of people that are in favor as versus opposed was quite high. With respects to some other comments that were made, when the Strathcona Regional District was created, how many years ago by the province, Area D was put into that service without being consulted to. So here we were put into a 2-participant service, and that's what we've had to work with. So I just want to point that out, that it has always been a challenge for Area D residents. Why were we the only electoral area put in there when, there were probably other options that could have been addressed in the day, and they weren't. And we're doing that now. So thank you.
Okay,
Chair, if I
go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments. One, 90 response. Generally in statistics, if you're doing a survey, you want to get at least about 5%, which would be over 200 responses for a survey. And I just want to acknowledge for the folks that did fill it out when this was initially put up, the people's names and contact information were shared publicly, and I just want to apologize to them. Thank you.
Okay. So did we receive that? I don't think so. No. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Number 2.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is another report from myself. I think the report is quite clear. There was a motion in there. I'm not sure, how to proceed with that motion, but one of the things that I will mention right now is that I realize that the director has made those correspondence public on her own director site. My only question at this point in time is that as we talk about transparency and all of those things, how were these documents sent? So again, happy to hear the discussion. I would still like to utilize part of the motion because I think that there's still information that would be quite useful for this board to come back. And that is basically the portion around having media engagements on matters that are still before the board.
Director Wally?
Yeah, I just want to point out that it seems to me a little inappropriate to have anonymous letters coming to the board's director's report. This thing isn't named or signed. I don't think it's appropriate to send something with no signature on it and nobody knows who wrote it.
Okay. On receipt, all in favor? Oh, sorry.
Just to address Director Wally, when I sent this in, it was signed and there was some problems with the template that I had. So it's unfortunate that my signature is not there and we had to quickly reformat it. I believe that there was some issues with it, but it was signed. I'm not going to stoop to that kind of level. Thank you.
Yeah, just like that, Mr. Chair, that it's a public document. That's all. We could add a signature, but just send it with no signature is just not right.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Director Moini and Director Wally are opposed. Okay, management report.
I
don't have it.
I think he may have a motion to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I just have a quick amended motion that I would like staff to return a further report to the board regarding engagement with the media before, on items that are still before the board. I think that would be quite a valuable report to receive. Thank you.
Do we have a second? Discussion?
Yeah, if I could, Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, ultimately what I believe the report will say is that directors around this table can always engage provincial government. That's something we're free to do. So I'm not sure if the intent is to sort of stop that from happening or not, but that's something anyone around this table, we can call up a government staff or we can write a letter to the minister and ask questions and ask for clarification. That's something we're always allowed to do.
Director Sinnott?
I think it depends on whether the board has made a decision and you're honoring the decision of the board as a conduct of a board member. You can say you voted differently, but then you have to go along with the board. So I'm not sure, what the timing is, but I think it's appropriate for educational purposes for this board to have some feedback from staff as to where this all falls.
Director Rice?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not looking to stop anything. I'm trying to understand myself, when is it appropriate to engage the media? My personal feelings myself is that I'm not going to talk about things that are still before the board. That doesn't seem to be the same belief with other directors, and I respect that. But I think it would be a good report for us to take a look at and see, well, what is the consensus? Do we all go out now and have media engagements on matters that are still before the board for a vote where we're trying to basically sway public opinion? I don't know.
Director McWhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I think that the best time to engage with the media is before a decision of the board. And in fact, I have taken training through my, and opportunities through being an elected representative, which identified that if you're bringing a motion to the board, which is something that you're really passionate about, actually writing press releases and sending those press notifications and letting people know that you're bringing that there is going to be a conversation about something at the board table is an appropriate path to ensure that if you want media attention on something, they may pay more attention if you send out that media release with your opinions and or emotion that you're bringing to the board. So I think that here as directors, we're entirely governed by a code of conduct and a procedures bylaw. And I think any report that is brought back from staff is going to say what the code of conduct and the procedures bylaw already say. So I don't think that having a report on how directors engage in meetings with the media is a good use of staff time. We already have bylaws in place for that.
Director Wally?
Yeah, plus I was gonna add, it doesn't make any difference what director's personal opinions or consensus is on the issue. If it's not a bylaw, we do what we please.
Director Dahl?
Well, I just wanted to say that, while we're all entitled to our opinion, we're also should be held to the truth. So your opinion needs to be the truth. And, I would be interested in seeing this correspondence because we know that in conversation with the provincial government, that they have said that this project is $10 million over budget. And only a limited number of people have spoken to the province. So someone has told them that we're $10 million over budget. And I'd like to see the correspondence that says whether that was discussed in this conversation or in the other conversation that we know has gone on. It was brought up again this morning. So, I would be interested in seeing that correspondence just to see if opinions and truth are the same thing.
Director Lanyon?
Sure, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I have no issue at all with directors engaging with the media in advance of a vote. I've done that. The issue really would be like where there's a pattern of catastrophizing and dramatizing and like just factually incorrect stuff that makes it into statements. Because it really can distort the issue. I would be interested in hearing a report that says, okay, what are the board's what's the board's recourse when a director has engaged in repeated I guess attempts to dramatize or mislead the public. Because I think if you're telling the truth and you're being realistic, no issue at all. But if it is intentionally meant to inflame and or misinform, I have a major problem with that. So, but does the board actually have any power in that scenario, or are we just free to say whatever we please?
Director Senate?
Yeah, so you have to be careful you don't create colorable rights to relitigate an issue because you say, I want to have a new motion or I want to have this thing entered in again, and then I have a chance to talk about something that impugns or impugns the decision of the board at that time, and you're using that as a lever to then talk to the media. So that's a fine point, and I'm not sure the timing of all these particular things, and that's why I think it'd be really important for staff to come back and look at particularly that you don't do something and say, hey, I've got a new motion, so I'm going to talk to the media now, but it's technically a collateral attack on a prior board decision, which could have happened. And I'm going to say today, I didn't mention it, but Ms. Horton's letter starts from the first line saying there's cost overruns. There's no cost overruns on this program. So these are the types of things that get out there and get repeated. And I think that addresses what some of Director Dahl said.
Okay, Director Mawhinney, last comment, then we're going to call the question.
Thank you, Chair. And I honestly, I'm hearing about cost overruns here for the first time. I've never heard about them before. I don't attend Strathcona Gardens meetings, and if that's a fact that's out there in the public or that's being stated here at the board table, that information is beyond my understanding. And I just want to let you know that the correspondence that I have written to the minister and the inspector of municipalities absolutely is available on my website. And there is nothing but facts in there. I'm really clear and just honestly just asking for a comprehensive review of the policy of the bylaw when it crosses their desk. So you're welcome to visit robinmawhinney.ca and check under press releases and you'll find the correspondence to the minister there. And I really just going to review and repeat what I've already said, that we have a code of conduct and a procedures bylaw, and those two items really dictate how and when we can and can't talk and how we can talk. So asking for a staff report seems like not a very good use of time.
Director Dahl.
Because Director Mawhinney just pulled the correspondence on the Strathcona Gardens, I will read to her the first sentence from President Horton. I am writing in response to the Strathcona Gardens debate on who will be responsible for the payment on the cost overages for this province. That's the first sentence in the letter that the director just pulled for discussion.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Director Rice's motion.
Repeat the motion back for us, please.
Edith, do you have it, or Tom?
My understanding is that a further report be prepared on the question of communications with the province by individual directors regarding matters that are still before the board.
Well, let's ask Director Rice if that.
That was fairly
characterizes-
close, but I think that what I was trying to get at too was, doing media engagements on matters that are still before the board. So it's a combination of the both.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed, 3 opposed, 2 opposed. Motion's carried. Okay, new business. None.
If, sorry, I am gonna break order here if I can. During the meeting, I had a request that is time sensitive from the city of Campbell River for a letter of support for the BC 55 plus games. And I've given it to Edith, and if the chair will indulge, I think it's fairly quick and simple that the board provide a letter of support as the city of Campbell River and the Comox Valley are making a joint application for the 55 games.
Is this an addendum?
It's neither. I'm
business.
just trying to inject it somewhere. Again, I'm the only one that has it because the manager of recreation just sent it to me during the meeting. So, and the deadline is tomorrow to have the letter. So.
Okay,
I'll
Director
second
Kerr.
that.
Thank you,
I can't
Worship.
make motions.
Because shut up, Gerald. I've been making this motion for years, so I'm going to do it. I move that the SRD board provide a letter of support for the jointly prepared application for the upcoming BC 55 plus BC games to be held in the city of Campbell River and the Comox Valley.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
I have a discussion.
You have discussion?
I'm happy to support that, but just want to provide the opportunity to Director Kerr to apologize to Director Wally around telling him to shut up. I don't think that's appropriate.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, last but not least, installation of
to-
public toilets on Quadra Island.
Motion that the addendum be considered.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead, Director Mawhinney, if you could wrap it up.
I would like to move that the report from the CAO regarding public toilets on Quadra Island be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
And I will move that a report be prepared to outline the steps required to install rustic toilets such as composting toilets at high-use outdoor recreation areas on Quadra Island, and that the report include high-level comparative cost estimates, and that this build on the work of the Discovery Islands Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
I'll move termination.
Discussion? None. We are done. Thank you. All in favor? Thanks, folks.